A few years ago, I stopped paying for Kit.com, and when the subscription ended, every automation I'd built there disappeared with it. I never deleted anything myself. That's just what happens when you stop paying, because that is a premium feature on Kit.com and a number of other software as a service email systems. What's still sitting in my account is the contact list and the tags. Today, I'm going to pull that out and move it into FluentCRM, and I'll show you exactly what survived and what didn't, because that difference is the whole reason this show exists. Hi, I'm William Beam. I went out on my own and did what most business owners do, picked up the tools one at a time, and the bills kept climbing while the automations kept breaking. I've spent years building systems at places like Lockheed Martin and PwC. I just wasn't using that skill set on my own business. That's what I do now as principal architect for Suburbia Press. It's what this show teaches you. Last time, in the previous episode, I ran MailChimp through the capability framework, and it failed 3 of the 5 questions. If you haven't seen that one, or you want a refresher on the 5 questions themselves, episode 1 breaks down where they came from. Today, we're going to go from diagnosis to action, a real migration, live, off a platform I actually walked away from myself. Before I share my screen, here's what you're about to see. The contact list and the tags come out clean. That's part straightforward. The automations don't, because they don't exist anymore. I'm not rebuilding what Kit.com had. I'm building fresh logic in FluentCRM, where this time it stays mine even if I stop paying for support or hosting somewhere down the line. All right, let's take a look. Okay, I'm on the Kit.com homepage, and before I even log in over here, I just want you to take a quick look at what they're showing you over here. You know, they've got, it says, trusted by Ali Abdal. I've watched his videos. I think he's actually pretty good at what he does with productivity. No complaints with him at all. But if you scroll down here a little further, you're going to see there are a lot of people over here that says thousands of creators and authors and so forth use Kit to grow their business. I mean, Pat Flynn, I've followed him many times. He's got a lot of good advice. Some of these other people I don't know. But when I look through this, not a single one of them is a business software architect. They're using a product, and the fact that they're using it does not mean that this product is right for you. When you're making a purchasing decision, don't be swayed because someone that you've heard of, or maybe you even follow, uses the same product. Maybe that's what works for them. There's a number of reasons why they're using what they've chosen, but that's not the criteria you should look at when you're choosing software. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. Now, I had 2 different accounts. I'm going to use my photography account, and they've changed the navigation since I was here last, so we'll just close out some of these things. And you can see that they've got a few things over here. They always want you to upgrade. That's fine. We're not going to do that. What I want to do is look at who are my subscribers. Now, before I did that, I want to take a look at Automate. Notice that these are paid features. I was a paying client for a number of years, and I had visual automations, I had rules, and some of these other things. Now, the Kit MCP didn't exist. That's a fairly new thing if you want to connect your email marketing system to an AI tool like Claude. The tool I'm using is FluentCRM. That's what I'm going to use for the demonstration. It also has an MCP server. A lot of the email marketing software and other tools now have these MCP connections, so you can hook it up to your favorite AI tool. But what I wanted to point out is the automations and the rules. These things, even though my account is still there on a free account and my contacts are still there, none of my automations are available to me. What I can do is I can come over here to my subscribers, and I've got 718. What I want to do is export all of these. So I'm going to click over here. You can see down here, 25 selected. I want to select all 719. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to check the box for export. So your subscribers are being exported. It'll take the system a moment to make these changes. What happens is it sends an email to me, and in that email, I get a link where I can download the file that it created. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, so I've opened up the CSV. It came, like I said, in my email. I downloaded it, and I've got it here. I have to blur out over here because I kind of want to protect the privacy of the people who are on that list. But what I want to show you is what we got at the very top. So first name, email, when it was created, the status, if they were active, tags. And this is actually kind of nice, the fact that you do get your tags with kit.com. As I scroll over, you can see I also get city, state, country, if anybody referred them to me. And then there's some other things over here. And then, of course, their last name. I don't know why the last name is so far from the first name, but this is what I've got. Now I can use this information to import into any other email marketing service. As I said, I'll be using FluentCRM in this demonstration. Okay, so I'm in FluentCRM. This is a test site that I've got. And what I want to do is bring in some more contacts. So we're going to go to All Contacts. We're going to go to this button called Import. And I'm looking for a CSV file. Now you've got a few options. This is the most common one, a comma-separated value. WordPress users are people who are registered with an account on your WordPress site, which of course FluentCRM runs on WordPress. And then import from other providers. Now, if you can take a look at this, in fact, let's just go ahead and click on it just to show what that looks like. So you could import directly from kit.com, MailChimp, MailerLite, Drip, and ActiveCampaign. I kind of prefer having the CSV file myself, so that's why I chose this method. But if you're using one of those services, there's a way that you can import into FluentCRM. If you're leaving, let's say, kit.com and going to ActiveCampaign, I know the CSV file import will work. I don't know if they have a direct import from others, but that's the idea. CSV is pretty much a universal file format for importing contacts. So we're going to click Next, and then you can just go ahead and drag and drop your file over here. So once my file is in place, then you need to align the fields on the right side are what you have in FluentCRM, and the headers are what you have inside of the CSV that you downloaded from, in this case, kit.com. Most of these kind of show up at the right time. So one of the things I remember from looking at the CSV is we had created at, let's see if we have something similar over here that we can use. And it doesn't look like it, so nothing mapped automatically from there. Status, that's something that I use status tags, but that's a different issue. Well, the status that's in kit.com doesn't map over. We also have tags over here. So if you want to map that over to tags, we can try that and see how it works out. And then you've got city, state, country. If somebody referred them, there may be something over here. And in this case, that would be source. So the source of how they got referred. The UTM stuff, I'm going to skip over, and the last name mapped to last name. Now you can also automatically add these to any lists or tags you have. So I've just got like customers and leads on this test site. I'm not going to do that. Do you want to update your subscribers if they're already in your CRM or skipped entirely? Or what they're really saying here is, like, let's say you've got a subscriber named Milo, and he's already in your list. But if he was in the CSV that you're bringing over, do you want to have two Milos? No, probably not. What you want to ask here is, do you want to update or do you want to skip? So I don't want to update anything, but contacts already in your CRM are skipped entirely unless you select update. Now, as far as new subscriber status, you've got a few choices: subscribed, pending, and on down the line. So what I'm going to suggest is, if you're migrating from the list where you have already verified them, they have done the double opt-in that they want to be on your list, I would just put them in as subscribed. Pending is something when somebody first signs up on your email list, you want to send them an email to say, click here to confirm that you really want to be on this list. And that's kind of what pending is for. The others are kind of irrelevant for this. But for people that you've already verified and they've subscribed to your list, all you're doing is moving that list from one side to another. You're not under an obligation that you have to put them in pending and send each of them a notice to click here just because you're moving systems. That's kind of in the background. If you've got some emails coming from a store or a vendor that you know, if they change systems, they don't ask you to subscribe again. They just move you right on over. It's no different with what you're going to do with your system. Do not trigger automations, tag, and list related events. Tags or lists can be used to kick off an automation in FluentCRM. So if you add tags here, do you want it to automatically kick off that automation? In this case, I'm going to say no. I don't have the automations built for anything. We're not putting in any of those kind of tags. We may look at that in a future episode. But for right now, I just want to get them in here. So the next step is to click here for next to review the data. It's importing everything. And it's nice and fast, 719 contacts in a few seconds, all done. No errors, nothing skipped. Let me close this. All right, so I have 720 contacts. I had 719 that I imported. Why do I have 720? Because I had one contact in here, and that was just for my own account. So I've added 719. You can see lists, tags. I've got a number of tags over here. So these are the tags that were in kit.com. I did not have these in here before I did the import. So all of those tags actually mapped over to tags in FluentCRM. The import system in FluentCRM was smart enough to realize that and put them in here. Segments are a different thing. We shouldn't have too many of these in here. These are kind of already defined for the WordPress users. You can see where it says system defined. A segment is kind of like an automated list. As people change things, maybe they have a tag added or removed, they may go in or out of a dynamic segment. Again, that's a lesson for another day. Okay, so what I've decided to do is, remember I told you that I had one in here already. So this is my technical support account. That way I'm not worried about trying to blur out someone else's information. So I'm going to click on this. We're going to take a look at what it looks like inside of FluentCRM. So I've got this user has a role as an administrator. And since this is basically a demo system, I haven't sent any emails. You can see at a glance there. You can see what list they're in, what tags they have. And then down here, you can start seeing how they've interacted with your system. So any emails that they may have, if you use text messages, which FluentCRM supports, if they've signed up using a form, and then if you want to have any notes. If you use more products from WP Managed Ninja, like Fluent Cart, for example, for shopping, or Fluent Support, there will be fields over here that'll show what they've done in those systems. So you could see somebody's entire history just from inside of FluentCRM. Now, that's all the data that you're going to get when you migrate from one of the software as a service organizations. So in this case, kit.com. You're not going to get all that workflow that you built. That you have to come and rebuild one at a time. So if we want to do that, we could click a new automation, and you can see that it tells you, what are the automation triggers for the CRM, for Fluent Forms, which I have installed on this site. Fluent Player is another product. Did they reach a media milestone? And there are also WordPress triggers. So if somebody logged in, that could trigger something. You may want to count how many times they've logged in and then give them a reward at some point. There are various things you can do, but in most cases, your automations like you had in kit.com or another email marketing platform are going to be based off of these little things over here. Is it their birthday? Did you add or remove a tag or add or remove a list? Now, there are some pre-built templates over here. So if there are canceled appointments, membership upsells, and a lot of these things depend on what other things you have installed on your site. If you're running a WooCommerce site, there's a feedback automation or a post-purchase upsell automation, a birthday discount. So these are some nice things to kind of get you started. I like the welcome series. And if you've got a lead magnet, so you get some of these things already built for you. So you don't have to create anything brand new. In this case, we're going to say if a tag is applied, we'll continue. And you can call this anything you want. I'm going to leave it as tag applied. You can put a description over here. Then you can select the tag. Let's say that the tag is confirmed. And then you've got some choices over here. Run the contact, edit in any of the selected tags or all of the selected tags. So in other words, you could do this if there are numerous tags up here. So we're going to just say any because I've only added one. All would work as well in that case. This next one, run the automation actions even if the contact status is not subscribed. You may have people in your CRM who are not subscribers. Maybe they're still in pending and they have not confirmed their email address yet. Maybe they were in your list and they bounced out. So that way you typically will not want to send an email to someone who's unsubscribed. So that way you've got an option. If you want to run it for this, you can. And then this last one, restart automation multiple times for a contact for this event. That depends on what it is. Some things you only want to run one time, and that is the default. If there's something where they may need to check this automation out multiple times, then you would check this box right here. So we'll save those settings. And then once your tag is applied, well, now you've got an option. You can do an action or a goal or a conditional action. A conditional action is basically if then, if this or that. So you're going to check a condition, and then you've got all sorts of things for what are the properties. So if the contact segment, let's say if they have a tag added and they are confirmed, and you can add multiple properties, you can add or properties, and just keep building that out if you want to. It's very powerful. So now if they get tag confirmed and you check the condition, which should be yes, over here, you can take one series of actions, and over here, if not, you can take another series of actions. So let's say if someone is confirmed, what do you want to do? These are things that you can do just for the CRM. Further down here, you can see email messages. So you can send a custom email to them. You can send a sequence of emails. You can cancel them from a sequence. This is where things really start to get powerful. Let's say that you're using an email sequence on somebody and they took the action that you wanted. Could be to watch a video, could be to buy a product. Well, once that happens, you may want to cancel the email sequence. So that's something that you can do based off of whatever this condition was. And I don't want to get too much into doing automations, but what I did want to show is these automations are the power behind your system. And when you leave a software as a service like kit.com, you lose that power. You saw it on the website. This is a paid feature. You only get access when it's paid. You can't download it. You can't import it anyplace else because automations have no universal format like contacts do with a comma separated or CSV file. So that's what you're giving up. That's what happens to you when you leave one of those services. And maybe you want to go back at some point. You could, but honestly, I think this works out much better. You own this. It's on your own server. The data is yours. Even if you stop paying for updates and new licenses, it will keep running. You paid for it. It's yours, but you won't get support and you won't get updates. So that's what the difference is. All right, so what do we see? Let's go over and click over here on contacts. And remember, I've got this filtered to just this, but all of my contacts moved over very cleanly. The automations didn't because they couldn't. There was nothing left to move. Now, that's not a failure of this migration. That's what happens when the logic you build lives on someone else's platform instead of yours. In the next episode, we're going to tackle the question you're probably already asking. If this is so much better, why doesn't everyone do it? And by this, I mean WordPress self-hosted systems. I'm going to walk you through what owning your software actually costs you in time against what renting it costs you in control. If you want the deeper argument of why ownership matters this much, the architectural risk assessment breaks down the 5 structural risks in full. It's linked below. If you're planning a migration of your own, please come join us on the Suburbia Press community. That's where people work through exactly that kind of decision. That link's also in the description below. Thanks so much. I'll see you again in the next episode of Creating Capabilities.